Okay. Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for spending your evening with us. And welcome to the fourth episode of our video podcast, Grad-Titude, Keep It Real. So for today's special edition, we will be discussing on what are the new opportunities arising from this post-COVID world. So we have students, alumni from the SEGs, from the engineering school. So let's invite our esteemed alumni. Hello,
Hello,
guys.
hello everyone.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Okay, so before we start our discussion, I will do like a short introduction of you guys. So first we have Ariff, senior course trainer and project lead developer at Pegasus AC, and he's also the founder of Aviation Learning Hub. It's a self startup. So he among the works that he done is he manage and support training and development for the aviation knowledge in aviation industry, and he trains he manages trainers from people from pilots and ground instructors. Great. And we have Afiq, who is working at the Safran Landing System Singapore, who's the aviation MRO technician. So he does a lot of measurements parts, receiving plating in the department, exchanging in the fabrication in the in-house and external sources. So there are a lot of live things involved. So before I really jump into some of the questions that people are asking when they first sign up, maybe I can start off first, maybe by asking you guys when you want to tell people what's your job, what is something that you will say? Okay, maybe I ask Afiq. What do you work as? Yeah, what do you explain?
Hi guys. Okay, yeah. So for me, my job scope, simply put, is I specialize in landing gear repairs, maintenance, or overhaul lah. It's as simple as that. So if they are wondering what is a landing gear, so it is when you see an aircraft, an aeroplane, any type of aeroplane, the wheels, okay, they are attached to this like a beam. Okay, there's this beam lah, can simply call it. Okay, that is the landing gear. So it's made up of a lot of different components and parts. So people don't really know what a landing gear is. So once I mention that, then they will be like, oh, okay, yeah, I see. Yeah, cool, interesting. It's as simple as
Great.
that lah. Mhm.
That's nice. But yourself, Arif, maybe ask you what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure. Hi everyone. So basically what I really do is to hone the next batch of individuals who aspire to be part of the aviation industry lah. So to simply put it right, I start off from the youngest age, from even 9 all the way to 20 years old, of group of people who are interested to be pilots. In fact, I hone them with educational skills, and on top of that, get them prepared through workshops and things like that, just so that they get into the right channel. But nonetheless, I have a huge network of people from the engineering field to the aviation industry, from service crew, no, cabin service crew, even pilots, things like that. So I put everyone in the right field if they are interested to be inside. So that's what I basically do. Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks.
You're like a bridge that connect people to opportunities, connect people to
Yeah, you
get
could
inside.
say so.
Nice,
Mhm.
nice. So just so jumping
For
on
sure.
that, so maybe I can ask like, what is the demand now? In this, especially this situation that we're in, the demand for the engineering industry. We just want to prep our juniors. Yeah. Be
Mhm.
yeah. One of you,
Yeah.
Arif, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, perhaps if you talk about demand, I mean, let's just be realistic. I mean, with or without this COVID pandemic, right? I mean, we still do have many who are still aspiring to be part of the industry. You know, we've seen a fair share of people who are pretty uncertain, you could say, but they are still very much inclined or enthusiastic to to still want to land into the field. But nonetheless, right, you could say I would say demand of the market has dropped, but the supply of people who wants to be in the field still remains. In fact, it keeps escalating, you could say. It
Yes,
doesn't
agreed.
drop because, I mean, when companies start retrenching people, supply of people starts to drop. But you see, the back end, right, there's still a whole lot of interested pool or talents that are still wanting to be in the field, be it whether it comes to engineering, whether it comes to wanting to fly a plane, whether you want to be working in the airport, things like that. So I would say demand wise for the industry, it doesn't drop. but demand for the market itself externally, like people, consumers like ourselves, perhaps, may have dropped a little because of the fact of COVID. Yeah, I don't know about you, Afiq. Maybe Afiq can elaborate a little bit more.
I mean, for on my perspective is okay, it's similar to what Ariff has mentioned, correct? The pool of people who are interested in engineering sector, be it civil engineering, aviation, whatever engineering there is, the pool of talents is ever growing. Can simply say, but the demand for it right now it's either at a halt or it's slowly declining. But declining is not so sharp to the point that aviation is obsolete. I wouldn't say it's obsolete. It's still there, but a much lesser. How do you put it? Much lesser
Right, and now it's
res,
different. Yeah.
response to it, like yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, then
it's, you could say, pretty stagnant in a way, but when
Mhm,
it's just very low right now. But when industry kicks back on, everything will start,
mhm.
exponentially climb again. So
Yes.
yeah, for now it's definitely low. That's for sure.
Mhm.
then for those who are aspiring to build a career in the industry, like what is some of the tips you should give them now? Yeah.
Okay, perhaps I can start off. Perhaps you can look at. I think importantly, you don't be too rigid. You know, uh,
Mhm.
I know that everyone has an end goal. Like maybe someone wants to be an engineer, things like that. But most importantly, right, like you have to diversify your thought process. Like it's not like a one way route. It doesn't mean that if you don't do this, you don't get that. Like there are a lot of multiple factors or elements that can get you there. Like some examples, perhaps you could perhaps even upgrade yourself in terms of skills. It can be skill sets such as learning the beauty of AI, intelligence, artificial intelligence. It could be things like honing up your soft skills, things like that, because these are all the small little things that will get you well prepared for what the industry is to be lah.
Mhm.
Yeah, perhaps Afiq want to
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit.
Okay. A good. I mean, not to brag or anything, but I would say one of Ariff's example would be me. Okay. I myself, honestly, I'm a hands-on person. I would rather do a lot of hands-on work. Initially, my goal was to become a licensed aircraft engineer with ST Aerospace through one of their licensed aircraft engineer trainee licenseship, something like that. So I mean, plans change. Okay. So at the end of the day, I went back to my intern place, which is here, Safran. So I continued as a technician. But as I progress on as a technician, although I haven't been there for quite some time, I've been there only for about 2 years, 4 months, coming to 5 months. But throughout those period of times, I've tried to, improve myself through going to like the trend now is actually people engaging courses that specializes in digital marketing. I don't know if you guys know or not, but digital marketing nowadays is taking over aviation or any industry lah, can say. Reason being is simple. You have brick and mortar businesses. Okay, brick and mortar businesses normally they they don't really get much help in terms of marketing. So people are venturing into digital marketing is because it is an ever growing industry. You businesses will die without any advertising. So they put themselves like they become the middleman between the businesses and the consumers. So I feel that it is good to broaden your horizon, because for me last time I was always thinking like I just want to become an engineer, but then after NS, plans change. So I didn't take that route. So I became a technician, and then from there, I started to branch out to different scopes in life, like soft skill, like digital marketing, how to do advertisements, how to run my own Facebook advertisements, all that. Yeah. So it is really interesting, especially now during COVID, you cannot stay rigid. You have to be flexible, because at the end of the day, staying in one position, correct, you are heading towards your goal, but there are many ways to head to your goal. Just don't stay
I
rigid.
mean, to top it off, I mean, nevertheless, right? I think Afiq pointed out a very valid point. In fact, a very good point. That you should never stay rigid because, I mean, regardless of what industry is, I mean, especially for aviation per se, right? It is a very dynamic industry. You know, it's ever changing. Global context, you know, when one country is affected by something, you know, our own country as a hub in Singapore being the air hub, you know, we are also affected by external factors, you know. One such, of course, with COVID, you know, these are such exogenous shocks to what we have been priding over the past few years. You know, we've been very proud being one of the air hubs in Singapore. But you see, when we are just so, you know, we are so rigid, when we are just so positioned to just one thing, when things like these externalities come into play, then you know, you start to tremble and you start to, oh, what's next? You know, am I going to lose my job? You know, what's next for me? So the only way to go forward then, I would say, is really to upgrade ourselves. I mean, through, like I said, minor small skills, you know, just short courses, things like that, just gives you that added value to whatever is the bigger goal at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
It's nice. I mean, you all brought out an interesting point about learning new skills. I mean, especially this digitalized future in that sense. So is that something that will be the new norm that beyond the course that we are learning, you know, in poly and, you know, further on, these extra skills will then be the age that employers are looking for? You know?
I would say
Yes.
for sure. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, let's just give an example. Okay, like, I mean, we look at. I mean, especially we're looking at aerospace industry. We talk about companies like Airbus and Boeing. You know, I mean, Boeing themselves has been creating the next generation of planes. You know, like there are no Boeing 777X that's comprising of about 300 um, 3D printed parts. You know, we talk about 3D printed parts, and 3D printing is like the next thing. You know, we are talking about a disruption in your supply chain. You know, when things are, you know, from raw labor materials going to the next line. You know, when people start assembling stuff, and it all has been replaced with just one machine that can print out stuff. But you
Yep.
see, that machine isn't by its own. You know, there has to be humans behind it that
Yeah,
create that
correct.
machine, you know, the software and things like that. So this is where the industry is definitely heading to. I mean, nonetheless, basic fundamentals do not go astray. You definitely do need to know, like, what is it like, you know. You cannot be an engineer if you don't know how to fix a plane and you don't know what's the ins and out of a plane, you know. But you know, all these things, all this technology that is being embedded in the industry are there to supplement, in fact complement, the human nature of things. It is not there to kick out the human race, you know, but it's there to complement and supplement. I mean, there are things like, you know, inspections, you know, like we are looking at drones being used in the future for sure. I mean, you know, because when it comes to human, right, the aspect of human factors are when you know, when factor in the fact that fatigue level, you know, just, you know,
Yeah.
that day you just become so moody, just restless, you're not focused. The element of a robot or drone, they don't have the element apart from the fact that maybe their battery is going to die, right?
True.
But then nonetheless, the humans behind, the brains behind it, it's what truly matters, and that is where we are heading to. That's why we cannot be too rigid, like hoping that no one is going to replace our job, but more of what is there to enhance our skill set in the future. Yeah.
It's like it's basically like a supplement to the human touch. That's all. You know, you're trying to reach for something your arm can't reach far enough, so basically you just use either a tweak. You know, that tweak is actually that robot or that enhancement, I probably say lah,
I think
especially right now.
that's a good point because uh, we have to understand, like, the new technologies, they are not there to really destroy jobs, but they are there to improve the jobs actually. So we might not have the necessary the same jobs that we were doing, but we have to adapt, right, in a sense, right?
For
So
sure,
Yep.
for sure. I mean, just to wrap it up for that portion, I mean, if you look at it, uh, you start to realize, right, like the value of a job when you have AIs or for the matter technology starting to substitute your job for that matter. You see, if let's say a robot or a machine can do the job better, then you got to start questioning yourself, like, oh, so what then can I add value to that robot's life or to the organization's structure, you know. So definitely it is a good wake up call. I mean, COVID has definitely accelerated the whole process. I mean, if you think about it, with, you know, now having everything on Zoom, you know, it's it's just even you think about it, it's back a year ago, right? We've never really leveraged much on such mediums, but now with COVID, right, you start to realize the importance, the value of your job and livelihood. You know, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, then do you say like one of some of the skills that we need is really aside from learning multiple um, ideas and technologies, but is the people skills or some in some sense the ways on how to value add to the company? Would you say some of the skills needed to navigate now? Maybe after yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean the base line of it is still human touch. That is really important. Regardless whether it is, digitalizing everything from paper into your laptop or into your mobile phones. Yeah, I mean, human touch is really is the necessity there. Okay, you don't really have to, improve so much. You can go with the flow. Reason being is that, digitalization it's still new, so there is still room for improvements, especially for us humans. I mean, those people who created it also, they are unsure. Some of these digitalization applications are still prototypes, so they still need human inputs like us who are using these functions to provide feedback, so they will slowly tweak it there. Yeah, so like a point from there, bottom line is human interface is, I mean, it can never go obsolete lah.
Yeah.
You cannot remove human out of the equation, because we are the ones who created it and we are the ones who need to supervise it. You cannot just let it go. Otherwise, you will become like, the Terminator series, Skynet taking over all that. Yeah, so I don't think it will happen lah. Not so soon.
I mean, definitely. I mean, I got to truly agree, Afiq. I mean, the human touch to things just for now, really. I mean, you've seen how circuit breaker has worked on Singaporeans for the fact. I mean, we still want that human touch, just to even simple thing to even go out to have a dinner with friends. You just can't have that human element out of context, because it just it's just a way to keep people staying relevant. As much as technology is always constantly diversifying, improving, and integrating part of our lives. At the end of the day, the the human touch to it, it's what makes the whole process more memorable and more worthwhile for the matter. Yeah.
Then that's stepping on the human portion. I
Yep.
think Ariff, you deal a lot with people. I mean, you're interacting with a lot. You are communicating. You are giving education. So where does this entrepreneurial mindset comes along? And what benefit it does to value add to this engineering portion here?
I would say really I got to thank, I think, my lecturer for, I mean, back when I was in RP, right? I mean, I will never forget, you can never forget your roots I mean, because I mean, I had this lecturer who once told me, like, there's a, like, RP prides themselves with problem based learning, right? And we're always solving problems. So when it comes to a point whereby you realize there's a problem, and there's no one who is there to really like bridge that gap, and then you see that problem as a opportunity to leverage on. That's where then I noticed that, okay, perhaps why not then I could try and put up that bridge, to cover that gap. Because I've been telling a lot of my colleagues, I've been saying, like, you see, there are many people out there who know what they want to be. They have the end goal. I mean, Afiq himself want to be an engineer, but a lot of times they kind of don't really know how to get there. So when they don't really know how to get there, because not say, like, I mean, Singapore has a lot of opportunities. I mean, if you think about it, not just from poly programs, like even all the side courses, traineeships, things like that. But the thing is, what then puts you at an age to then closing up that gap to be where you want to be, right? And I've interacted with a lot of people, like, we've seen a good fair share. I mean, I've talked to organizations who are, they themselves, like, is a local flying schools, they're there to hone the next batch of young kids, to be the eye or the image of Singapore, flying for the local brand, like Sai A, things like that. But you see, a lot of times, right, the common problem that they face is that how do I stimulate the demand, the demand of these people? Because the thing is that the demand is there, but they are unable to reach that gap. So this is where then I find that me leveraging such an opportunity keeps me intact, getting people across to industry more effectively lah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, that's important thing. I mean, it's like a sign that the opportunities are there. I mean, as much as the competition is there, but the opportunities are also there. I mean, you just have to find it, and you need to find the right people to bring you there sometimes, right?
Correct. I mean, you see, the thing is that if there's problems, it's good. You don't look at it like if there's no problems, then oh, it's just a problem. I have to go one round to get over the obstacle. But you see, if you actually look on the bright side of things, you are being optimistic about it. Sometimes you being that bridge, right, to try and resolve that problem altogether would then be of a not just a benefit to you but also to the masses, and that's what makes you human sometimes. It's not just for your own self gain. It
Yeah.
it actually makes me really happy for the fact that it does benefit people, and that keeps me going, I would say, because
Mhm.
the ability to also network with others out there, knowing their own problems, their societal problems that they are facing as in the industry or in the organization for that matter, uh, keeps me in the loop that look, uh, the problem is never going to die off so fast. There is still room for improvement, so
Mhm.
that's why one example is that I'm looking to expand out on a global scale, getting the masses. In fact, that's one of the major projects that I'm working on to try and not just leverage on the Singapore's context but try to expand it out on a global scale.
I will bring me into
Hopefully,
your team.
we connect the world together. Nice.
Yeah.
We have for those who are live tuning in, you have the ability to ask questions to our speakers. One have already came in about this pandemic chaos, creating this chaos. So how are your companies responding, and based on the realistic timeline, how long this can we bounce back? Is it within the next year? Like, based on your
Okay.
Perhaps Afiq. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, for my company so far, I've been fortunate. There hasn't been any retrenchment in my company, which I'm super thankful for. Okay, but the thing is that they although there's no retrenchment, but they really cut down a lot of things. Uh, Pre-COVID, I would simply say every month I would do OT like mad, like nobody's business, just so that I can earn bucks. But during this COVID, my company has made a lot of changes in order to not let it affect us so much, especially my company, because in Singapore I think there are four. Yeah, there are four saffrons in Singapore. Okay, my company is considered one of I wouldn't say largest, but is the most money making company. Okay, I would say. So by right, we were supposed to cut out a lot of people as directed from our headquarters in France. But then our managing director stood firm. He told them, if I were to retrench my employees when the economy has started going up again, I will have to fork out even more money to recruit people to send them for trainings. So might as well I cut down on other things like OT, maybe bonuses. I mean, for us, we as employees, we don't mind so long as we are still employed. Even if you are forced to take non-pay leave, you are still employed by the company. So that is how my company has, thus far reacted to this COVID situation, instead of like as simple as throwing out people, retrenching people. I mean, if you retrench people, it's not really that nice of an image for your company, because since my company is a global company, like comparing to Rolls Royce, Pratt and Whitney, what else? Boeing, Airbus. So I've heard a lot of stories from my ex-friends. Okay, those who are working there, some of them have been retrenched, some of them have been laid off. because the company is unable to support. Okay, another reason is being that those companies that they're working in, they are actually production companies. Means they manufacture parts or components to support a larger scale business elsewhere in a different country. For my company, it's different. My company is a maintenance, repair, overhaul (MRO). So somehow, my company is the most important location. I mean, since Singapore is already a prime location, okay. The good thing is that any gears, any landing gears that requires to undergo MRO, be it from China, be it from Mexico, US, if they are unable to do it, they will send it to us. So we can say that jobs is always there, but demand is dependent on our clients, our customers. If they need it, then we will do it. Yeah. So I mean that is as much I can say lah.
I mean,
Without
yeah,
no.
to wrap up what I mean, Afiq is saying is that, I mean, let's not forget when we come from Singapore, right? We are a country with a diverse aerospace industry. I mean, we've got 130 players, you know. We're looking at diverse connections of concentrations of, in fact, many aerospace companies, and one of which is like Afiq, you know. But nonetheless, you see, because, you know, 10% of global MRO output in the world, you know, is actually contributed by Singapore's aerospace industry. And
Mhm.
and with that statistics alone, you can clearly see that we do play a vital role in the world's air transport industry, you know, if you
Yeah.
look at it.
Correct.
So nevertheless, right, like even though everything is on the low right now, I think Singapore is, as much as we are all ever ready to get back running, you know, when the economy restarts back, we are looking at perhaps, I mean, 1.5 years to 2 years of recovery. I mean, because if you really look at it, right, it's this pandemic has really overshadowed a lot of businesses. I mean, if
Mhm.
we've seen, I mean, Afiq has also mentioned about the fact that production sectors are having it hard, you know, retrenching workers, things like that. I mean, the truth of the fact is that we've always been emphasizing the idea that technology then is going to start ramping up, and with technology coming into place, then what is there for the production sectors to put them on the upper edge to things, you know? So you see, there's a lot, or as much as a lot of diversification happening, there are a lot of companies, in fact, industries that ain't going to be doing so well. The aerospace industry, when it kicks back up, maybe in 2 years of recovery state, I mean, all we are relying on right now is really on air travel bubble, you know. We've had it unfortunate for the fact that our air travel bubble for Hong Kong has already been postponed all the way to the end of the year, you
Yeah.
know. So, you know, all these kind of, you know, little things, you know, all these small little baby steps is what then makes a company thrive, you know, eventually to
Mhm.
the road to road of recovery lah. So
Mhm.
so that next question then boils down to when then is what then can I do to be of that, you know, upper hand, you know, because we got really so many companies here in Singapore that's already
Mhm.
contributing a global output, you know. So
Yep.
I mean, companies like what Afiq is in, we have a lot of major players like, you know, Pratt Whitney, we got ST Aero, I mean, ST Engineering,
Mhm.
things like that. They are all just waiting, you know, for the right time. But I mean, nevertheless, right, I think companies are looking to diversify their business. It's no longer just because we are focusing on the aerospace industry, therefore it's just aerospace. I mean, I've
Mhm.
seen companies, I mean, in fact, articles in news, we've been looking at companies who used to be just manufacturing and, you know, processing plastic materials. They're now looking into semiconductor materials because for the fact that you see technology being the next in thing,
Mhm.
people are all always on their tabs, on their phones, you know, new technology coming in. So the industry will definitely change, but nonetheless, the aerospace industry, as of what it stands right now, the hard fact is that it is still not going to be of a smooth ride, for the fact that as long as we don't really have a vaccine that's happening out for us, you know, we just got to, you know, cross our fingers first as of now.
Yep.
Okay,
And
that's
still optimistic.
yeah.
Optimistic, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's more complex than we can actually like
Yeah.
give a clear answer, because a lot of players, a lot of chain reaction, a lot of events that will shape even the one
Mhm.
company itself, right? So, wow.
Yeah. Correct.
Indeed.
I think one of the important questions that came in is the young fresh grads. You know, now they're hearing all this. Like it seems
Mhm.
very jarring. Like, where do I put myself in this place? Like what advice, I think you can give to this young fresh grad who's coming out, like he's really unsure. Should I stick in this industry? Should I go on? What is one advice that you can give him so that in this time, yeah.
So Ariff, you wanna
Okay,
go first
sure,
or
sure.
I go?
I mean, okay, maybe I go first lah. So,
Okay, okay.
I mean, if you look at it, right, being a fresh grad, I mean, if coming in from fresh grad, I mean, totally with no experience, then what then should make you an outstanding candidate to be in the industry or in the organization for that matter? Because that should be the next question in line. Because if you look at it, right, uh, there are a lot of, in fact, undergraduates who perhaps before they even do come out from schooling, right, they are still trying to find as many means, even through sourcing of internships and things like that, just to get that upper hand, trying to get the experience, something of that matter. At least I can say that I did something related, I did something that actually developed my individual skills, capabilities, soft skills, things like that, anything. So the thing is that you got to start questioning on what is the upper hand that you have, compared to many other people out there. Because let's not forget, we live in a very competitive society, lah. So there is really so much more that one has to do, to really stand out. And it's no longer just about paper qualifications. I mean, as much as yes, it is an important next step, right? To climb the career ladder and things like that. But then what is it that you can value add to the company? Like it's just small little things. Even if I would give you a advice or for the matter, I mean, let's just look at the aerospace industry for the matter. Let's see, example, the WSQ or WSG. We do have like traineeship programs, right? I do know that as much as everybody who comes out, very gung ho, you want the job, the right pay, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, sometimes what you really need right now is a job security, right? Because industry is just so bad. So
Yes.
land yourself somewhere first, that gets you going, even though you may not be of the right pay that you want, things like that. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, the pay is, if you are really in for passion, it's good, but you still do need the pay to supplement you. But then nonetheless, don't be too over ambitious first, as much as by nature you are ambitious, but look at it on a smaller baby steps first, trying to get there. Yeah. Develop on that aspect before you triumph lah. Yeah, Afiq.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
I mean
beautiful.
that, yeah, is a real life case scenario for me lah. Because like I said, I really aspired to become a licensed aircraft engineer, but plans changed. So instead of aiming up here, I set my goals realistically. So I took baby steps. So right now I'm actually here. So there's this much difference. But to top it off, right, I don't think it's really a bad point, because especially in the aviation industry, like what Ariff brought up, the most important thing, especially the aviation industry, is experience. No matter what, okay, experience is really important. Without experience, people wouldn't really, you know, put trust on you, regardless whether you are doing something big, something small. Experience, no matter how, yeah, like what I said, big or small, that every experience count. If let's say you're sweeping the floor in an aerospace hangar, it is still considered experience, because you are already in you're already in a right context. Okay, your surroundings, you're already in an aerospace sector, so you can start looking around, start to observe things. If you're really interested, try. People say don't be a busybody, right? Like your parents may say, don't be so kepo. But then, you know to get experience, you really have to be kepo. If
Knock on the
you don't
door.
kepo, yeah, sometimes you don't knock on the door, you just have to barge in. Yeah, that is what I learned lah. That's what I experienced, because when I was starting off at work, my fellow technicians, they weren't really those type of people who really slowly guide me, but instead I would have to watch and learn, be capo. If they are doing certain tasks, then I would like just sneak up behind them, see what they're doing, learn from there, and slowly I will ask questions around. Through that, I gain experience. Through experience, employers, okay, would trust you more. Simply put as that. I mean, it is really crucial. I mean, if you are thinking of like promotion, you know, if let's say you're already in a corporate world, okay, you are trying to climb up the ranks. In order for you to be promoted, you need to be able to show that you are competent. How do you show your competency is through experience, what you do. What you do will reflect on how people look at you. Oh, this guy is good. He can do this, he can do this. But in terms of the quality, maybe you can slowly catch up on that. But you know, at least you have shown that you are able to do it. You are willing to do it. You have the guts to do it. Okay. Like the question asked, what is most essential? I would say bottom line is experience. Whatever it is, experience. Don't be afraid to like explore other industries. You don't be like you also mentioned throughout the whole session. It's about not being rigid. Don't ever stay rigid, especially now. Especially now, don't stay rigid. You just have to open up your eyes, be willing to venture to other sectors lah. You don't have to necessarily permanently shift to another sector, but just to be able to tap into it. Like that, you're being more outstanding because you got more skills, you got more experience. So people were like, hey, this guy is reliable, yeah. He can do a lot of other things. He can do digital marketing, he can do advertisements, he can do engineering work, he can calculate maths, he knows how to talk with people, yeah, all that. So it's really, really important.
I mean, to just add on a little bit lah to Afiq's. I mean, we said a lot about knocking the right door and opportunities. I think for especially for fresh grads who are just coming in, I think first and foremost, at least put yourself in the eyes of the recruiters. What I mean by this is that perhaps you can leverage on things like LinkedIn. Things that keeps you in the social circle of the industry. I mean, the aerospace industry is really small in Singapore. I mean, you can't deny that fact. But like everyone knows one another, in a certain way, So I would say just put yourself in the shoes or put yourself in the eyes of recruiters for that matter. Because just try and be in sync with what's happening. That gives you the leverage of what you do know about the industry, at least for that matter, so that you are not coming in unprepared. Say you want to apply for a job, you got to know not just about the company, you got to know what's happening in the industry also, right? It's not because the company at the end of the day has an end goal, because the end goal isn't just to recruit as many people in their workforce, right? They want something also, right? So what can you value add to them? So that's why it's very important that you should know how the industry is going about, like whether it's bad, whether it's good, what are the future opportunities for the company, for that matter of sake. So at least you are in sync with what the recruiters are looking for and what the company truly envisions itself to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, fantastic. I think you guys both wrap it up. I mean, experience, be in the know, and the most importantly, I think we should remind each other and all those who are struggling that every step, how small it is still moving forward. We are still climbing the ladder. How small it is, even how baby steps it is. So, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Ariff and Afiq. That we wrap up this discussion with reminding the audience that do not just forget that we can connect, and one of the areas to connect here as an alumni is to give back. So you can see at the chat below that there is option for you to learn. There's new courses, platform to learn, and there's ways to give back as an alumni, because I think what is most important now is to understand that we can give back. I think once we got experience, we can give back to juniors who needs it, who needs to hear us. So with this, I think like our social media pages, follow us, and please look out for each other. Yeah. With that, thank you so much. Thank you, Ariff. Thank you, Afiq.
All right, stay safe.
Have a good night,
Thank
everyone.
you so much for the session. Thank you.